Hello, everyone. My name is Alberto, aka Destroyer 48, and today I'll be doing a movie review of the 1985 hit movie, The Goonies. Um, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over some scenes of over this movie, over this film, and so I'm gonna do that so y'all could see if you want to check out this movie one of these days and see if it's your cup of tea. So that's what we'll be going over the moments and highlights of the movie The Goonies. Let's begin, shall we? We're in a town. It looks like it's in Maine somewhere up there in North America. And you got it that you're in a it's like a little jail they have there. And it starts off that there's this police officer in that jail. It looks like a little prison. And he's telling the prisoners, "Hey, it's time to come eat." So they all start taking off. He notices that one of the jail cells that they still need somebody else to go eat. And he's like, "Come on!" He has to go all the way back to that jail cell. It's one way back there. And he goes to that jail cell, and there's a prisoner hanging. And this you can call him detention officer. Could be a police officer, but I think it's a detention officer. He goes to the hanged body, and he has a note on it, on his body right here. And it says, "You think I'm really stupid enough to kill myself, you schmuck?" And then once the detention officer reads it, he is struck by this supposedly dead corpse. And he gets knocked down. And it turns out it's Jake Fratelli, one of the family members of the infamous Fratelli family. He had like some metal crowbar his back. He gets that, takes it off, and he runs out and he escapes the building. Now outside, we already have somebody in a vehicle. Well, actually, they're outside the vehicle. It's Oh, by the way, the prisoner is escaping. I don't know if it said it was Jake Fratelli. It's Jake Fratelli. And outside we have Francis Fratelli. He's uh he's the other brother, and he has gasoline and he's pouring it outside. And then in a vehicle, it looks like that's a getaway vehicle. It's Mama Fratelli. Now Jake Fratelli's running out. He's trying to get into he Francis goes back to the he goes into the passenger side. Mama Fratelli's driving, and they get into the vehicle. Jake Fratelli comes out, and he's trying to get into the passenger door of the vehicle, and for some reason they can't open the door. So Mama Fratelli says, through the roof." He's gonna try to get into the sunroof, and he finally does. And when he gets in, the cops are running after him from inside the that little jail, or little prison, we should say. And and Francis Fratelli takes out the gun. He shoots at the gasoline that he poured in the street, and it makes a ring of fire, or oval fire around all the police officers, so they're coming out, but they can't chase him because now this flame of fire from Francis pouring the gasoline and shooting it lights it up. It's a fire. They're encircled, and they cannot get out and pursue the chase. So they take off. The Fratelli family, they take off, and But now we have squad cars that are on the chase. It's like two sheriff cars. They're after the Fratelli family. So the Fratellis, they're driving down the street and they're trying to get away, and with two cop cars after them. Now, when this is going on, they're gonna start passing some of the Goonies. One of them that's not probably considered a Goonie yet is Andy. They pass her this chase, and she's preparing cheerleading squad. They're doing a pyramid. They pass her. Um, they also pass Steph. She's on the docks, and she goes into a barrel. She takes out a crab. I guess that's her job, her place of employment. And then they pass Data in the junkyard. The police chase goes by to where Data's at, and Data's some Chinese kid, not to be racist, but he's Chinese, and he's trying out one of his gadgets, and his the gadget he's using at this time is like a belt. It shoots out a dart, and it hits a barrel, and it's supposed to bring the barrel to him, but no, he goes towards the barrel, and and he goes headed towards the barrel, and he lands in the barrel head first. Funny stuff. Then the police chase goes towards town again, I believe, and we got Chunk. He's a Goonie. He's another Goonie, and he has pizza in one hand and he has a milkshake in the other. He's in some kind of restaurant. He sees the police chase through a glass window, and he slams a pizza in one hand on the window and a milkshake, and the milkshake spills over, and he's like, "Oh crap!" So the police chase passes them, and he was all excited too, but he ruined his dinner, I suppose. Then the Fratellis, like they managed to lose the cops for a while, and they go into a race. It's like for monster trucks or big trucks, and she's Mama Fratelli gets on the beach. She stops. She's like, "Hold on, boys, 4x4." Her car's, I'm sorry, 4-wheel drive. She goes 4-wheel drive, and she goes with the rest of the vehicles that are racing, and she passes all of them. And that's it for what we see from the Fratellis right now. Now we're gonna go with now we're at a residential area. We're at a house setting. We got a kid named Mikey. He's hanging outside or he's hanging out in his room. He's looking into a telescope. He's real bored. You have his brother Brandon. He's doing a solo flex, kind of like exercise deal, exercising with equipment. At that time, I think it was called the solo flex. It's a bench where it has like the weight resistance, not weights, but it's like bands and stuff. And and he's doing his exercises. They're just chilling at the house. Um, Mikey says that like they're gonna miss that place. Like something's gonna happen to that place. And then Brad's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna immerse this place too." Squirt or whatever he calls him, something like that. Oh, he calls him Wimp. So now we know something's up. That they can't stay there for some reason. Um, they're gonna go downstairs. Mikey's friend Mouth arrives, and he comes in the door, and he puts his foot on the table. He's going, "Hey, what's going on, guys?" Excuse me. And he starts talking with Mikey, and then Mouth picks on Brandon, saying he flunked his driver's test, and he's kind of like saying, um, "How are you gonna go out with a girl now? You're gonna have to make out with her and her mom." And I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, we got Data, the Chinese kid that with the devices. Now he's at the neighbor's house, and he made the device like James Bond. He's gonna come swinging down this device that's attached to one of the lines, and from that other house on the top, he's gonna come all the way down like James Bond kind of moving on the line, and he's gonna land in the back of Mikey's house, and that happens. He crashes in there, and then we see that another Goonie Chunk is outside, the one with the pizza and the shake, seeing the whole chase go down. They're gonna let him in. Mouth is teasing him and saying, "Hey, if you want to come in here, you gotta do the chunka shuffle, chunka shuffle, something like that." And he gets on top of I don't know what, and he gets on top of something outside the fence. And he starts doing it. He picks up his shirt. And he goes "Whoa," like some kind of hamster, and he's chubby, so it looks funny. And he has chubby cheeks, so it looks even more funny. He's like "Whoa," I don't know, trying to move his blubber and all this stuff, and Miles starts laughing at him, and and Mikey's like cut it out, and then Mikey has these on the front lawn. He has like all these gadgets and stuff that's gonna like a bowling ball. Their water hose is gonna go off, and all these gadgets that are gonna just open the door. So he starts the gadget. The gadgets go around, and they open the door for Chunk to get in. Chunk gets in. So now they're all in the house. Um, Chunk, when he's hanging out in the house, they're eating chips. He drops a statue. And they're all yeah, they're just there. And then Mikey's mom comes in, and then Mikey's mom comes in with Rosalita. Rosalita is probably speaks Spanish. It's probably like Puerto Rican or Mexican or something. And she's gonna. Mikey's mom explains that Rosalita's gonna help her take care of things, clean up stuff. Because Mikey, you can see Mikey's mom has a cast on, and Rosalita will be helping her take care of the house till they. Now they're gonna bring it up that there before they tear it down, so now we know something's going on. So yeah, we got the two new characters, Mikey's mom and Rosalita. Um, Mikey's mom brings up the fact that hey, you kids know Spanish. Rosalita here doesn't speak a word of Spanish, and Miles says, "I'll gladly help with the Spanish, translate." And Mikey's mom's like, "Yeah, we'll translate. Okay, thank you." So they take her around the house, and what happens is, Rosal, when Miles is gonna translate, um, Mrs. Walsh, I think that's her last name too. Well, Mikey's mom. That yeah, Miles gonna translate, and then Mikey's mom's gonna tell him like what to do. Like for example, there's some drawers. She goes, "I want this in this drawer, these clothes here, or whatever." And then Miles makes up stuff saying it's not even like he doesn't even mention what she said. He'll translate in Spanish some horrible things that's where they keep all the drugs and affinities or the speed goes here, and he's just scaring the as a joke. He's scaring Rosalita, and he also says that he translates again about something else, saying that if about Mikey's dad has torture devices upstairs, and he's like, if you don't mess around with those torture devices, you're gonna be left to just beating. We're gonna imprison you and just give you bread and water for 2 weeks, something like that. I was like, okay. And she's Rosalita's all scared because Mel's lying to her, and it's time for uh, Mikey's mom and Rosalie, they're gonna leave. They're gonna go buy some food. So they leave. Mikey's mom gets mad at Data. Like, hey, use the front door. I saw you coming like James Bond with the bags. Like, okay. And before she goes, "What is that?" Everybody's like, "Oh crap!" They're in trouble or something. What is that? And they're scared because they're afraid that she's seen the statue that it's broken, has a piece broken. But no, there's chips. She goes, "I want those. I want that cleaned up, boys." And they go, "Yeah, sure. They'll clean up the chips." They're just lucky she left. And then so Mikey's mom leaves with Rosalita, and they leave, and then Mouse says, um, "Buenos días, señorita," whatever, like kind of like, well, it's actually good morning, but she's trying to say like goodbye to Rosalita. Rosalita's all scared of Mouth with all the bad things he was lying about in translation. So Mikey's mom and Rosalita have left, and we have Mouth is gonna. They start talking about upstairs, or actually in the attic, that there's some valuable stuff there. And Mouse like, what do we find something valuable? Maybe we can save our neighborhood or whatever. So now you know something's going on. They need money for something. Um. Oh, by the way, before after they leave, Rosalita and Mikey's mom, there's these two businessmen that come over, and they ask Brandon to come look over some papers, and now you're getting to see that they're gonna try, these two businessmen, what they want to do is tear down the neighborhood, tear down all the houses, and make a golf course. So now we know what's going on, and I think they're gonna try to find a way to come up with some money to I think they have so much money to come up with so they could stop them from tearing down the houses and making a golf course. And yeah, they don't want a golf course there because they want to keep their houses, but they're desperate for money to see how they can pay that off. So now we're inside. Now Mouse says, "Hey, let's. Your dad has a lot of stuff in the attic. Let's go up there. They're gonna tear it down anyways, kind of deal. Maybe we can find some stuff to sell and come up with the money to save our neighborhood." So they go in the attic, and then when they go in the attic, there's a whole bunch of cool stuff. There's pirate stuff. Um, you're thinking that Mikey's dad probably worked. I think he works at some kind of museum or something. So that's where they have all stuff from. They have they have a lot of pirate clothes. They have pirate books, and then they have some electrical currents. I don't know what it has to do with pirates, but they have some electrical balls that have currents, and they play with that. Um, Mouth is playing with a painting. There's a painting that has a woman's mouth open, and then Mouth puts his tongue in there, and hey, Mikey, give me a little kiss, whatever. He's like, "You're gonna ruin the painting," and then Mouth says, "You're gonna ruin my joke." Brandon is looking at some pirate book. He looks like he's interested in that. Um, Mikey he finds he finds like a painting with a glass frame in it. He thinks he sees something interesting in it, and he gives it to Chunk because he figures Chunk breaks everything. You don't want to be in trouble for breaking something. To give it Chunk, and sure enough, he gives it to Chunk, and Chunk drops his picture frame with the glass in it, and it breaks. And Mikey finds a treasure map, and he also finds some rock thingy that has holes in it that could be some kind of used for some kind of code. And he starts saying the story of Chester. He talks about One Eye Willie and Chester Crockerpot or something like that. Crockerpot, Chester Crockerpot. And they all gather around, and And Mikey starts talking about One Eye Willie is a pirate that had a whole lot of money. The British, I mean, found had a lot of treasure, and the British, um, and the story goes, the British were after him, but they lost him. And One Eye Willie was gone with the treasure. And then Brandon says, "Dad will tell you any stories that put you to sleep." And he's like, "No, it's true." And he's talking about Chester Crockerpot was I believe that was a newspaper clipping him. This is a man that was chasing him down or going after One Eye Willie. Not back in the day, but like nowadays, probably in the 1940s or 50s, trying to find One Eye Willie's treasure. Um, and I will mention, I forgot to mention that Brandon's mom had, or Mikey's mom, both their mom, told them for Brandon not to let Mikey go out because it's raining outside and Mikey has asthma. But now they're talking and Brandon's like, "No, you're not gonna go anywhere." And Mikey's like, "We need to do something, you know." So they're gonna get out of the attic and they're gonna go downstairs. And Brandon's like exercising with some. This thing is used a lot in the 80s. It's like something to develop your chest muscles. It has springs and it goes like this. And so so Brandon's on that recliner chair and he's doing his exercises. And then Mikey's telling the Goonies they're going around Brandon, and he's doing all these signals like this or whatever, what have you. And what ends up happening is a Chunk jumps on Brandon. Everybody's like, "Oh!" And then they get that device he has, that exercise thingy, and they tie it around him. And then Brandon tries to they tie him around with the recliner, so he's tied up like this. And then he tries to get out of it, but he ends up falling down backwards, so he's stuck there. And the Goonies are off into their adventure. They go outside, they go into their bikes, and and they take off. They take off down the street. They pass Mikey's dad. He's like pulling up the flag from outside from the museum, and they're riding down the street, and and then we got Brandon's back there. He's still tied up. Rosalita and Brandon's mom come out. They come into the house. They're back, and then Brandon's like, "Mom, help me, mom!" And then Brandon's mom says, "Don't you know how to exercise correctly?" Because he sees them all tied up there, and he's like, "She's no help." So so Brandon's like, "Rosalita, Rosalita, help me up." She's like, "Ay, Rita, Rita, ahorita te ayudo." Or, that means like, I'll come help you right now. I'm from Mexican descent. I know some Spanish, so that's why I know. They don't show it, but she lets him out. Supposedly it had to be Rosalita, and and Brandon's gonna go outside and get Mikey because Mikey's their mom's already mad, and she tells him when he runs out, he says, "Don't forget your brother. Don't come back unless you have your brother." Um, and Brandon does have a bike, but the Goonies already had flattened it. They took let out all the air, and then he goes to steal a little girl's bike, the neighbor's bike. So he steals it from her. So he takes the little bike after them. The the Goonies, they go like near the seashore and they find an abandoned place. They're they're going with they're following the treasure map, and the treasure map tells them to go to that abandoned restaurant. So they're heading towards the abandoned restaurant. Meanwhile, Brandon's he's going to like a hilly area. It's going down, and a car pulls up, and in the car, this guy named Troy, this jerk named Troy. No offense to you, Troy. My buddy out there, his name's also Troy. He's in a nice car, red car. It's a sports car. And Troy's driving, and you got Andy in the passenger seat. And Andy likes Brandon. I think Brandon likes Andy too. And we got Steph in the back, Andy's friend. And they're all saying hi. And he's like, "You need a ride somewhere?" And he's like, "No." And they see Brandon's a little girl's bike, so it's funny. And then Troy decides to be a jerk. He goes, "Let's go for a ride. We'll give you a ride." Brandon's still on the little girl's bike. Troy gets his hand and sticks it on the car, and they start going fast, real fast. I mean, the wheels look like they want to pop out, and there's train wheels. Train wheels pop out, and Troy lets go of Brandon, and Brandon goes off the hill. And he goes down with his bike. Now we're back with the Goonies at that hideout, well, restaurant. I already let the cat out of the bag. And what's might as well tell you, it's gonna be the hideout of the Fratellis, and it's real cute. There's a scene where they're outside the restaurant, and I think it's Mikey and Data. I think they're like counting down, and they're holding each other like this, and they're skipping along. It looks really cute. It's Mikey for sure, and Data, or it's, yeah, I don't think it's Mouth. And Mouth and Chunk are just there, and they go. Um, Mikey did have that little rock thingy that had the holes in them, and he's checking them, and they match perfectly with some rocks that are near the where stones, big stones that are near the seaside. And they go into the restaurant, and they see the Fratelli's vehicles back there. I think they even see bullet holes or something. I don't know. I don't know why they don't get scared, but they still go. Um, when they get to the restaurant, they meet Mama Fratelli, and she's like, "What do you want?" And they're gonna play along like they're customers. They're like, when they go inside, like, "Come in," and they go inside. Mama Fratelli, she sits them at a table and says, "What do y'all want?" And they're like, "Four waters." They bring them water. It's all, it looks like tea. It's all it's all dark and stuff. It looks like tea. And the funny part I like from that is that when Mama Fratelli also said, "What do you want?" And Mouth first says like, "I want to." He says it like in a, trying to like say in a French accent, like, "I want a bottle of Mascarell, whatever, 1991 or whatever." And then Mama Fratelli gets some small, like, they're like, mm. And his tongue sticks out. I'm like, "How about sandwich tongue?" And she lets him go. And then Mikey says, "Man, I'm gonna go to the restroom, the bathroom. Where's the restroom at?" I like this part. Mouth goes, he has the two glasses, and he goes, "Hey, Mikey, you go to the restroom?" He's pouring the water back and forth. I like that part. They end up letting Mikey, and they give him directions where to go to the restroom and the restaurant, restroom and the restaurant. And he, they tell him, stay to the right, something like that. And he goes the wrong direction. He doesn't listen to him. And I think that's the first time Mikey, he may have seen Sloth. I don't remember, but he does hear like noises and stuff like that. And then Mama Fratelli introduces. I think she introduces the her sons to the Goonies, whatever. But anywho, what ends up happening is the Goonies take off on their own, and they go and join Mikey. And later on, Brandon sneaks in there, so Brandon meets up with them. And then later on, not too far from there, Andy and Steph meet up with the Goonies, who are all there. There is there is a scene where they end up near like the freezer or something, the kitchen, and Chunk checks out a closet and there's a lot of ice cream, but a body falls on him, and he gets stuck under the body. And then all the Goonies take off running, and he's kind of like left behind. Um, the Fratellis, now they know what the now that they know these kids are up to no good. They have Chunk captured because he was under the body, so he's prisoner. And um, the Goonies off under the rest of their adventure, and they find a secret passageway that goes down to for the hide from the Fratellis, and they go into like underground, like to caves and stuff. Um, so the Goonies are, I know they run into their first trap and under the caves, and Data would be the victim of it because one of the traps uh, has like a trap door on the bottom, and it takes Data. Data falls, but Data, when he's falling, he shoots one of his gizmos, and it's like a set of teeth with springs, and the teeth catches a rock, and good thing that it catches that rock in the ceiling or up above, because if it didn't, it stopped him from falling. If he would have fell more, there was like spikes or some kind of spikes, and it would have been his. He would have died. So somehow they don't, I don't think they show it, but they bring him back up. He gets out of it. Um, then we go back to Chunk. They have him hostage, and they start asking Chunk questions or like give us questions, but no, he starts from kindergarten up and or when he was born or whatever. And he starts saying all these long stories. Um, Later on, Chunk he's able to escape, and he goes to the street. He's like, it's dark already. He's like, hey, hold up. He's at the street and he's trying to stop cars. He stops a car, and he goes to the driver. He's like, hey, thanks, mister, for stopping. I didn't tell you there's this family for Tellies, whatever. And he's talking to, it ends up as Jake Fratelli. And then Francis Fratelli comes around and they get Chunk and they take him back hostage. And and then they're gonna send him somewhere else to be more secure. They're gonna put him this time. They're gonna put him in a room with Sloth. Sloth is a turns out to be he is a Fratelli, but his face is so disfigured because his mom dropped him. Mama Fratelli dropped him on his head so many times. His face is all disfigured. They have him tied up, and they have Chunk tied up, and Chunk offers him a candy bar and all that, and they're gonna create a a bond that shall not be broken. I'm just kidding. Well, kind of in a way, they get close and they become friends. When we get to the Goonies, we were at where Data almost died. Um, the Fratellis are gonna go after them and to make sure they don't give them away or anything. Um, there's scenes by the Goonies. There's one cute scene where they find so one of them has to go to the restroom or something, and they have these caves, and then Mikey goes, since we all have to go to have a restroom break, this cave will be for the little boys' room, and then that cave will be for the little girls' room for Andy and Steph. And then it's funny because Brandon goes in another cave and he goes, I'm gonna go into the men's room, and then Data, goes, I'm gonna go to the men's room too, and now they're trying to be all men, so they go over there with them. And while they're doing their business, uh, Andy tells Steph, I'm gonna try to kiss Brandon or something like that. She has a hot for Brandon. So she starts yelling outside, Brandon, Brandon. And and Brandon tells Mikey, hey, see what she wants. So Mikey goes out there where where Andy would be, and then Andy just gets him and starts kissing him. Mind you, it is dark, so she can't really see. She starts kissing him, and then Steph realizes that that hey, Andy's kissing Mikey, the wrong person, and then uh, Goyle's getting preparing because Mikey's all like, "Whoa, that was a cool kiss, whatever," and then Steph goes, "Hey, that way, Romeo," and he takes off, and he's like, "Thanks," and she's like, "Uh huh," and then Andy asked Steph, "Hey, when did Brandon start wearing braces?" It was Mikey's at the braces, so that was pretty cute. Um, then we got the Fratellis are gonna catch up with the Goonies, um, but there is this other part, and I can't believe I almost was gonna forget this part. Um, they make it to um, somewhere in the cave where there's a they know there's a well up above. They're like, we know where this is. They have all these quarters and it's like down in the cave is like a pond of quarters and water and stuff. Mouth goes diving in there, and they want to take the quarters and be like, well, we could be rich, we could save the town. Well, I don't know if they could save the town with a bunch of quarters. Um, and then Steph says, we can't take these quarters, they're other people's dreams. And then Mouse is like, well, this quarter, this one's mine. I think it had some red thing on it. And my dreams didn't come true, so I'm taking mine back. I'm taking all of ours back. And and they yell out in the well, and then Troy's up there with his friends. And Troy says, "Andy, is that you?" Because it was Andy that was yelling for help. And Andy was telling Mikey like, "Hey, we need to go. We need to get out of here. Someone's gonna get hurt, you know." And then Troy's like, "Okay, we'll send you a bucket." They drop a bucket and we'll get y'all out. But when Andy tells the Goonies that they're all gonna, somebody could get hurt, whatever, um, Mikey gives his famous speech. He goes, "You know what? If you go out there, you may be under. Go out there, you might have to be in another school, another town." And our parents, that's their time. Over here, it's our time. This is our time to do something about it. And he gives that speech, and then Troy is, and it's funny too because Troy had dropped a quarter in there, and Andy threw the quarterback, and I think he even had he flipped the quarter in the well, saying that he wished he could do it with Andy, and the quarter comes back. So what a reject right there. Uh, and then Troy goes, "Oh, wishes do come true," when he sees Andy down there. But after the speech, Troy Troy throws on the bucket, and he's lifting it up, and it just ends up with a jacket. And I think it was Brandon's jacket or Andy's jacket. I don't know whose jacket. And then Troy yells, "Andy, you goonie!" Yeah. And then there's also another scene where the Goonies find underground pipes. They go to the whole town. They start pulling on the pipes and stuff, something like that. They start pulling on the pipes, and the pipes are affecting the whole town. There's men at a club or something in the showers. The knobs they cave in, and then somebody goes flying off of a toilet. I think it's Troy later on. The toilet explodes just because they're moving the pipes, and Troy falls down. But that's later on later on with Troy, because Troy's there from that scene. But this is another scene. But now we have the Fratellis. They're after the Goonies. Um, and there's the part where there's like a log, and there's a log that's like a bridge kind of deal. The the Goonies pass the log, and the last one's Data. Data uses another gadget while he's crossing the log, that he's shooting oil in the back of his heels, and spraying oil on that log. And once he passes, the Fratellis comes. One of the Fratellis brothers slips on it and lands on his balls. And oh, and then the other one too. Oh, another accident. Pretty funny stuff. So Data's gadgets are working. Um, But the Fratellis, they managed to get across finally. And then we get to where the Goonies, they all end up in this place where there's a piano, and Mouth has to do some translation, and they have to get past this piano business to go on. And they say, "Who here knows how to play the piano?" And then Andy says, "Me." So Andy needs to play certain chords, and she doesn't know how to play the piano very well. So, and when she does, it's gonna open an entrance so they continue because they're in a that piano's in a closed area. So they start doing that. The Fratellis are after them. They have to climb up a little cliff to get up to that piano area where the Goonies are at. Data decides to go try to stop them. He's gonna hold them off till they figure out the piano thing. Um, Annie starts with the piano. She makes a couple of mistakes. Every time she makes a mistake, part of the ground breaks down, stuff like that. So she's working on that. The Fratellis are coming up the cliff. Data has a Fratelli get them like this, Data does one of his gadgets, and it's a spring with a boxing glove, and knocks one of the Fratellis out, and he goes all the way down. So he's slowing them down, slowing their progress after them. Um, Andy's still with the piano. Every time she gets a note right, there's like an entrance that comes out. Every time she messes up, part of the ground collapses. Data catches up with him, and Mike is like, "I can believe you. I believe you. I believe in you. You can do this. You can do this." Andy finally presses the right note, and then it opens up a door, and the Goonies take off to the door. So they dodge that bullet, and after that, they managed to get the Goonies managed to go down a waterfall, the famous waterfall scene. They all start sliding down the waterfall. They all fall and stuff, and then they fall into, it's like a lagoon, but within a cave. So they fall in there. Um, that's a pretty cool scene. Um, Fratellis are still after them. In that lagoon thing, they make it up the boat, and then they find the treasure. They have to go inside, get on the boat, get inside, and there's a treasure. And so they're looking at the treasure and stuff when they get inside the boat, and they go into One Eye Willie's inside the boat. Mikey tells them, "Don't get this treasure," and because One Eye Willie's sitting on the back in the chair, and he goes, "Whatever's in front of One Eye Willie, leave it to him. That's for him." Um, and they all start getting their pockets and filling their pockets full of gold and jewels. And then that's a pretty cool scene. And then the Fratellis catch up to the Goonies, and they start making them empty out their pockets, all that. And and then Chunk and Sloth are they're gonna make it to the boat, and Sloth has a Superman shirt, and he's gonna fight with the Fratellis. They ended up before that they even made Andy drop the plank, walk the plank, and then she fell in the water. Brandon had to go after her. So they have all these action scenes in the last battle to see who's gonna win. And I've gone over the scenes over the Goonies, and this is my review. This is the end of my review. I'm not gonna do. I don't want to spoil the movie for y'all. To be quite honest about it, so in case you wanna look up the Goonies, go check it out. And those of you who have seen it, you've already know. Those of you who want to know what happens at the end, maybe you want to check out the film and see for yourself. I don't want to spoil it for you, so I'm gonna leave it like that. Um, I hope you enjoyed my review. I really enjoyed this movie, and I don't want to spoil it for y'all because it's a really good movie, in my opinion. I grew up on this movie. It's a family adventure for all, for the little ones. If you have kids or a little brother and sister, you want to watch it with them. It's a really good movie to spend time with your family, and it's child friendly except for the part with the only thing I have to warn you about is Sloth, the Chunk's friend, Chunk's friend. His face is really disfigured. If you have sensitive kids, don't let them watch it. If you know they can deal with it, then let them watch it. This is going to conclude my review of the Goonies. My name's Alberto, aka Destroyer 48. I hope you see me in my next review, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.